Most monsters announce themselves with noise, fury, or the unmistakable signs of violence. But water hags are different. They belong to places where the world itself feels wrong, where the ground sinks beneath your feet, and the air carries the quiet suggestion that you should not be there. They are not just creatures of claw and rot, but embodiments of the swamp's hostility. Folktales love to insist that water hags have a system, that they sometimes disguise themselves as helpless old women, hunched, trembling, and sobbing for aid, that they tug at a traveler's conscience, lure them in, and then tear them apart once they are cornered. A neat little morality play about kindness being punished in the worst possible way. In practice, only someone blind or severely impaired by alcohol could ever fall for this sort of trick. Veteran travelers know better. When you hear sobbing echoing through the fog and spot a hut leaning at an angle that defies basic engineering, the correct response is not sympathy, it's distance. Lots of it. Because water hags may enjoy the idea of deception, but subtlety has never been their strong suit. These swamp-dwelling abominations look like something dragged out of a fisherman's worst fever dream after a week-long binge on tainted alcohol. And they smell exactly as one would expect, like the concentrated essence of 1,000 rotting fish compressed into a single, horrifying package. A water hag's skin carries the pale, waxy sheen of a corpse forgotten in the ground for far too long, stretched tight in some places and sagging in others. Her form is warped with warts, folds, and swollen growths, and from her back jut bony protrusions like broken ribs clawing their way outward. Greasy tangles of hair hang from her scalp and shoulders like drowned seaweed caught on a riverbank, constantly slick with swamp water and grime. Nevertheless, water hags are surprisingly agile swimmers despite their bulky, ungainly appearance. They move through water and thick mud with a speed that makes trained athletes look as though they are wading through molasses. This mobility serves them well during ambushes. What begins as a cautious passage through reeds or shallow water can turn, in an instant, into a desperate struggle against a furious, mud-slick predator erupting from below. As for hunting grounds, water hags favor locations like murky bogs, shallow rivers, and stretches of wet land. These environments suit water hags perfectly because they blur the line between land and water. Reeds and fog provide cover, mud slows fleeing prey, and the water itself becomes a weapon, dragging victims down into the choking darkness. In such places, a water hag doesn't need speed or finesse, since the terrain does half the killing for her. She waits, half submerged and motionless, blending the instincts of aquatic predators with the raw, irrational terror of nightmares made of flesh. By the time a traveler understands that the swamp isn't empty, the hag is already close enough to reach out and pull them under, doing it quietly and efficiently without leaving much behind to warn the next fool who wanders in. Water hags have also mastered the art of weaponizing filth itself, shaping and hurling dense balls of muck with unnerving accuracy. These projectiles are not merely disgusting, they are deliberately aimed at the eyes, blinding victims and leaving them stumbling helplessly through swamp water while the hag closes in for the kill. The effectiveness of this strategy lies in the combination of two advantages: an intimate familiarity with their swampy domain, and a complete absence of anything resembling fair play. A blinded victim in a swamp is functionally defenseless, and water hags are keenly aware of it. And like most creatures born of curse, decay, and old magic, a water hag is not something you face with steel meant for men. Ordinary blades will cut, but the damage is never quite enough to matter before she closes the distance. Silver is different. Silver bites deep, disrupting the unnatural force that holds such creatures together, turning what would be a drawn-out struggle into something far more decisive. The danger rises sharply when water hags decide not to hunt alone, and instead bring drowners into the equation. On their own, each creature is deadly enough. but together they turn a swamp into a coordinated killing ground. The hag becomes the anchor, the immovable horror lurking just beneath the surface, while the drowners act as the blades, darting through the water to harass, grab, and exhaust anything unlucky enough to wander in. In situations like this, preparation stops being optional and starts being the only reason a witcher hunting a water hag might walk away alive. Dragon's dream bombs, paired with a well-timed igni, can turn the swamp itself into a raging inferno, burning away the fog, the cover, and anything unlucky enough to be standing in it. The northern wind bomb, on the other hand, offers a different kind of mercy. It flash freezes a water hag solid, locking the bloated horror in place and leaving it brittle, cracked, and helpless for a few precious seconds, so a witcher can get close enough for a decisive strike. When it comes to their notoriety, water hags are quite infamous all around the continent and are often woven into tales. Villagers whisper about them in lowered voices, not just as monsters, but as consequences. Old folk tales claim that water hags were not always the creatures people fear today. That long before the claws, the rot, and the swamp's stench, they were naiads, the beautiful water nymphs bound to rivers. These creatures were known to toy with mortal men, drawing them in with charm and quiet curiosity, even though such encounters rarely carried any lasting meaning. Nymphs, after all, are not creatures of permanence, and love was something they tasted briefly, before casting it aside. But on the rare occasion that a naiad truly loved a mortal, the old laws of magic took notice. Such bonds were forbidden, and the price was cruel. The nymph would lose her eternal youth, her ageless grace stripped away in an instant, and become subject to time like any human. Yet death would still refuse her. She would age and age and age again until her skin sagged, her beauty rots, her form twists, until nothing remained of the nymph she once was. Thus, the water hag was born, an immortal thing trapped in a body that could only decay. The stories further say that on moonlit nights, the water hags rise from the water and weep for what they once were. That their cries echo across the lands, heavy with regret and bitterness, carrying the memory of lost beauty and broken vows. And yet, something of the nymph still lingers beneath the filth. Even in their warped forms, water hags are said to dance beneath the moon, pale and grotesque, moving with a mockery of the grace they once possessed. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you enjoy Witcher lore videos. Make sure you also hit the like button and share your thoughts in the comments with everyone. Until next time, take care.